Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Project Khichdi.
At this
Say
point,
hi, Robin.
I've started forgetting the episode numbers also. Like for a second, I was like, is it episode 8 or 7? But then I realized that we just released episode 7. Actually, it's
Yeah,
kind of
it-
happening because we are recording very fast these days. I guess the short form thing is kind of working out for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I like the last episode. It was very bite size. I mean, okay, bite size for us is still 25 minutes, but I mean it's much shorter. It's half the duration of our usual 1 hour episodes. I feel like at some point we're just gonna end up doing entire 1 hour long rant sessions. At which point nobody's gonna be listening to this. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not one to predict the future. Anyway, well, usually for our episodes up till now, we usually have. I mean, we typically start with a wacky kind of intro. I think my personal favorite was was singing Machine Gun Kelly, in episode 2. I think that I liked doing that intro. It was fun. I mean, not mostly because MGK is controversial and a lot of people don't like his music, but I personally like starting with a song. Robin, what was your favorite intro?
I think it was. Actually, let me think about it. Episode 4 had My Bedroom as the intro, which was so random. But nah, I think we have had even better intros than that.
Yeah.
What was?
It's episode 2 for me. Number 1. Second one is
See,
probably
like because
episode 5.
episode 1 did not have any initial bantering thing going on because we kind of like got straight to the topic. Episode 2 had like a singing thing going on. Episode 3, tunes and
We
tunes.
just talked about cartoons and we talked about our past. I think was episode 3. No wait. What was the intro for? I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither. And what was for
Yeah.
pitchier?
That's
5.
I was gonna say that's my second favorite because there we actually I edited our voice to make us
That's
sound
my
a
favorite.
little.
That's my favorite. Yeah,
That's your favorite?
because
I
it's kinda
figured
like,
I had a sense. Yeah.
it's kind of like it's very funny that we have like high pitched voice and then like after the theme hits, our voice
back to normal.
That's like a very funny contrast.
Yeah. So yeah, we do some wacky intros. But yeah, I mean, we don't particularly have anything for this episode, and that's actually the theme.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Robin, but I'm going through a pretty severe case of writer's block, and it has completely impacted my workflow, my motivation, and like I figured. I mean, we both discussed this idea, but like I figured this is like a great opportunity for me to just get some things off my chest. So. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, pretty much. Even I have some stuff to share.
All right, cool. You're listening to episode 8 of Project Khichdi. Stay tuned. Okay, so since this topic was my idea, I think I'll take this one away. So to sum it up for you, I have a pretty severe case of writer's block. It's been slowly creeping for the last year or so, but I think Robin, it's been there for much longer, don't you think? I think
I've been like sort of a part of this process.
Yeah,
in
you
which you
just
try
been-
to like negotiate around your writer's block, come up with new ideas, try them out a little bit, then realize
Yeah.
that's kind of not working out as per your vision, then like try to change it, but then later on like you sort of just like I'm not
Yeah,
able to, like,
exactly.
yeah.
I think at this point you could basically write my biography, don't you think?
With unpublished records, so many unpublished records. Actually, tell us like how big would be the file of tracks that you started off with but like you couldn't finish.
Oh god, dude, I could, if I saved at each instant, then I probably like, it's in the 50s, 60s, god knows.
What,
how
50,
many
60 what?
projects.
GBs, MBs? What are you talking
Oh
about?
no, like 50, 60 individual like versions of projects is like something.
What would that amount to in terms of file size?
Depends. If it's like a heavily, like if I use a lot of synthesizers, then like it can go up into the gigabytes, depending on how many layers and how many sections. Recorded music tends to be smaller because it's all rendered stuff. But even then, like just in the number of tracks per song, or even the number of just elements in general.
In terms of quick percentage, how many tracks, like how much % of your tracks end up getting published?
In the past, I've put the number to about 10%, but I think it's much lower nowadays.
And by published, I don't mean just on Spotify. On Spotify, YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah, everywhere. YouTube, SoundCloud. No, I'm talking. Yeah, no, I mean like totally for my entire discography. I think it's, I think it's somewhere around maybe 1 to 5% of the total number of projects I work on, and that's because that's just making art, right? You want to put out your best work, so that's normal. The flip side of that, and Robin, you know all about this, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to my work, and I take issue with the smallest of things that you like as your average listener, like as like the things that the average listener would not pick up. I end up focusing on a lot, and it can be anything from a vocal take to, I don't know, the melody of an instrument. If I don't think it sounds good enough, I will fixate on that, and I will spend hours just trying to fix it. So I mean, yeah, that's just my thing. And in my defense, like that's a great thing because it's the attention to detail that I believe makes quality work. But at the same time, I mean, over time, especially since the pandemic, because I've been like grinding and doing it every day for like 6-7 hours, God knows. I think it's just taken a toll.
It's like a boon and a bane, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And like, see, the way this manifests is it's not immediate, right? Yeah. Initially, you start to notice that you're nitpicking at things a bit more, right? There are just things that your ideas begin to sound repetitive, and repetitive. Obviously, that's from my perspective, right? I don't release a lot of work, so as a listener, you may not notice that much repetition. At least I hope so. But to myself, I've done every idea I've ever thought of 10 times over, in my head at least. So for me, it's like I have to think of something new. So it starts like that. You start to look for more new ideas, but you're stuck because you're like, everyone has a limit. You hit your limit and you can't think of anything else. You get frustrated, and that frustration slowly builds and builds, and your patience starts to drop, and you start to expect more from yourself in a smaller amount of time. So projects I typically would have spent, I don't know, a month plus kind of putting together over the course of a couple, over that time period would kind of, I'd expect it to get finished quicker. I'm looking for those projects I can sit and finish in one go.
I think another limitation you used to have, besides just like, sort of not wanting your current project to sound like the previous stuff you have made, is also you would put yourself through this limitation that I don't want my stuff to sound like the other stuff that's already out there. Like, you didn't want to rely on, for example, formulaic chord progressions that pop songs uses. Like, how we have ranted, I think, personal rants, and I don't know if we have publicly ranted on the podcast also, but just how simple some of these pop songs chord structures are. The same 4 chords can be used for same 4 chord, chords and like basic chord progressions can be used for like million songs. So like, what you would do is like, you would want your songs to sound anything but like a basic pop song. So that's why you would like, try using different time signatures. Like usually pop songs isn't 4/4, that is 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Yeah. But you would like try to do it in like 7/4, which is like some time signature that like we have hardly even heard of like in regular songs, right? Or like try using like some different chords so that the song sounds, and this pressure to like sort of make your tracks stand out from the rest.
Exactly, I completely agree. Like I said, you've been there the entire time, so I think you said it amazingly yourself. So I think just that, and it's an internal pressure, right? Like just sort of I need to prove to myself that I'm good. Right? So that expectation sort of manifests as I need to do everything like I've never done it before, and I have to make sure it's unique. No one else should have done what I've done. And it's like I said, it can be a great motivator, but I mean, having done it my entire life for every single project, hard work, anything, you name it, having done so much stuff and having kind of had that mindset, I think it's eventually taken a toll. So yeah, that's my situation. I feel like I've run out of ideas. Especially, I think, another factor in all of this is I think looking on the internet and seeing more and more people kind of step into the music scene and do amazing stuff. I was talking to you the other day, and I remember telling you there's a video of a 6-year-old. You know how Charlie Puth went on to the Tonight Show, and he basically made music out of a mug. He got a mug,
yes,
and
I
he
remember that.
recorded that mug, and he turned that into an instrument and basically made an entire song out of it. I saw a 6-year-old doing the exact same thing, but better. So you're already seeing like kids growing up with the same technology that I had, when I was 15 and started, but like at the age of 6, who are already doing these things, and not saying it's necessarily demotivating. I just kind of began to think, yikes, what can I add to this already existing pool of music?
Yeah, we keep talking about how saturated the music market is. Like, there's already so much talent out there. Like, it's what discourages me the most is seeing extremely talented people get no recognition whatsoever. It kind of feels like talent at some level. I mean, I'm not saying that the people who have made it big are not talented. That's not what this is about at all.
Yeah.
But so much of talent just goes unrecognized. Like,
It does.
and it's just heartbreaking to see that, firstly, and secondly, it's quite demotivating because it just makes you feel that just having the skills is not enough. You'll probably need a lot more than just.
It's so much marketing, dude. The amount of effort. Like the reason Taylor Swift is huge and Charlie Puth is huge and all these artists have such a big following is because they've got a persona, they've got a brand identity, they've got a story that sells really well. And not that I can't do that or other people can't do that. It's so hard to get in and get recognized that easily, especially when everyone's posting, right? And obviously that's good in some sense because competition makes you a better musician. It makes you think differently. But I don't know. I feel I really just don't have anything to add at the moment. Like it's a realization. Not of I can't be bothered to post TikToks or Instagram reels online. It's more of, why am I doing this? What's my purpose for getting into music? Is it for the recognition, the fame, or do I love this art form as much as I did when I started?
As you write, to quote myself through you, what's the point, dude?
Yeah, if you haven't checked out, I made I think so.
What's the
start
point in
of
making music?
Yeah. So what Robin's referring to, if you haven't seen that video, is I think the writer's block really got bad, or I think somewhere around the end of January, which is when I posted that video, or I guess it's a reel now, right? Because everything on Instagram is just a reel. See, this is what happens. You don't spend time on social media for like a year or two, and then all of a sudden you come back and it's like a completely new interface. But yeah, anyway, so I was having a phone call with Robin and we were talking about this, and I asked him to just basically say, what's the point, dude? And I sampled it, turned it into a video, and I gotta say it was a fun project.
The things that writer block makes you do, my goodness. Like,
Which
I've
is
heard
actually-
random tapes, like random soundtracks of him like taking someone who's laughing and then chopping up that laughing sample and then adding beats and beats. Like, it's kind of like
I should post this stuff.
that was like at some point in your journey, that was like your obsession, which was randomly surprising people with doing something very funky with their voice.
Exactly. And honestly, if you ask me, like, if you were to tell me, hey, if you were to give me something funny, I'd probably be motivated to sit down and make something out of it. But I guess not right now. But it's I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's an interesting segue. I was like, before the episode, I was sitting down and thinking of, okay, like, we're gonna, what things have I tried to kind of, alleviate myself of this issue, or trying to circumvent the problem. So I got a couple of ideas. So first is, I think, like, this is not necessarily research I've done. This is kind of stuff I've tried and I've gotten maybe off of the odd YouTube video here and there. But basically, I've made a list of a couple of things I tried to circumvent this my writer's block and rekindle my passion for music. So there are, I think, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven things. So the first one is listening to more diverse music. I feel like this is a natural step. Immediately, my mind went to, maybe I'm just not listening to enough music. Now, traditionally, I've not really listened to much music, which is weird because I'm a musician, right? You'd think that somebody who makes so much music must have listened to so much music, which is true. I've grown up listening to a lot of music, but as a habit, I hadn't really developed that. So one thing I've started doing, and I think
says the one who had who got like this statistic of having listened to used Spotify more than 99% of its users.
No, that's because I listened to the same 10 songs on repeat.
Oh, okay.
And let's be honest, in December, I was...
Not gonna lie, even I got the same.
Let's be frank, okay? In December, I was listening to 3 artists. Porter Robinson, Machine Gun Kelly, and what was the last one? I think... Yeah, it was The Midnight. I was listening to a lot of... that's when the whole synth... I've been into synthwave for the last year or so, but that's when I really started listening to the same songs on repeat. But yeah, I have had this habit.
I do agree to that sort of tendency. Like you also, you also keep saying that I do listen to various kinds of music in that way. Like I'm quite a bit of listener in the sense, like I like to sort of listen to some funky stuff in general, like. Funky as in, I don't mean funky as a genre, but yeah, even funky as a genre, but more like different, like a good variety of music. And I also feel like motivated that way to sort of feel to pursue music that is not too mainstream. So like to listen to music to listen to let's say 2 genres combine, which you would not see regularly combining. Like for example, I had seen like some Indian classical music combined with like electronic, or Indian rag kind of music combined with funk. There's this track called Mo Funk by Adwaita, if you all have
this is a song.
So it's sometimes these kinds of tracks really inspire me and motivate me, because I'm just like, oh yes, so there is still some scope out there to like sort of create sounds that have not been explored before. And regardless of how saturated the music market gets, there will always be something that someone has not tried before if you look hard enough. That's what I feel.
That's true.
And
that
really motivates me to look for music that sounds different from what's already on the market. But that being said, also I also have comfort music and comfort genres for myself, which I do like to listen to.
Yeah. No, I think I have that habit a lot. I will always fall back on comfort music. I have a playlist, and the title of the playlist is what's it?
Made My Day.
I forgot the name.
Is that
no. It's titled The Break That We All Deserve, and it's got like all of these songs that are just comfort. It's a mix of K-drama music, it's a mix of rock, electronics, and pop stuff, ballads. Yeah, it's very kind of good music. It's like very, very sweet sounding stuff. But that didn't work. Obviously listening to comfort stuff is not enough. You have to, like you said, listen to more diverse music and try different stuff. I have been doing that. In fact, I'm sure listeners will remember the not too far back second podcast I tried to start, the blogcast rather, and I was really excited for that, because that was kind of another way for me to rekindle my interest in music by listening to more of the indie scene, listening to different like music I perhaps never have heard before. Unfortunately, I think even that wasn't enough, and despite even after that having listened to tons of stuff, I've made an active effort since making the reel I posted in January to sort of listen to more stuff, and I've just been clicking on artists on random and listening to them on my headphones while I do laundry, while I'm working on something else. And I think that just not worked out for me.
Yet another thing that I do remember you doing with to sort of expand your creativity is trying a new instrument. I remember that you are primarily a drummer and also a guitarist, right? And you sort of there was a point in time when you would produce music using guitars, and basically even if you had like synths, you would like manually program the synths, like instead of actually playing it on a piano or like a synth, you would actually manually write those notes on the software. But you were kind of confident that all you need is a change in the instrument, and that I think is good logic, because like probably sometimes that sort of could inspire, like how a guitar works is different from how a piano works, right, for example. So that could like inspire you to make new kinds of music. So that's why you got yourself a MIDI keyboard, which actually is the theme cover picture of the episode 4. So
exactly. So we that was a picture I took of my keyboard, which I recently bought in December. And yeah, I think getting that was a really good decision, because it just allowed me to play my ideas out kind of similarly to how I would play them on the guitar in the past. And yeah, it did help for a bit, actually. It gave me a way to just create more stuff for a little while. But again, I think even that was a pretty short-term solution, because I don't play keyboard. I mean, of course I could learn to play keyboard, but it's never been a main interest instrument for me, at least not in the past, and not right now. But yeah, I mean, at least it did help for a bit. I think
even like when it comes to for guitar, right? Like since you talked about comfort zone, like even in the guitar, like once you learn like some basic cowboy shapes and some chords and some basic chords like minor sevenths, major sevenths and all that, you kind of tend to get comfortable with those chords and don't feel like exploring further. But then like even with those permutation combinations, you can only do so much. So like true. How my journey goes a little bit is, after a point I really felt like I need to learn the fretboard, or like understand the logic of the fretboard better, so that I understand why it is that certain chords work together and certain chords don't work together, and like how you can make like understand the logic and the theory behind it. And my logic is that understanding the theory behind it in depth will like sort of enable me to ideate in a better way. So that's kind of like an ideator's route in some way. But
actually, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I've kind of been doing that in some sense. I mean, since I've kind of let go of the you know about this, right? I've been learning. I took on the daunting task of learning to play Neon by John Mayer.
Oh yeah, learning new songs, like which have like something funky about them.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like I don't practice every day, but whenever I kind of get motivated, I think even on my bass, I've just been like playing stuff. So that really helps kind of, it's calming. It helps calm me, it always has. That's why I've always been drawn towards music. I think it's slowly, maybe in a couple of months, hopefully I'll feel something, but let's see where that goes. But I mean, aside from those things, I mean, if especially as someone like me who's been doing this for God knows like what, 7.5 years of making music.
Of making music.
I feel like you tend to. I've
huh? No. What? You said of making music, so I started again referring to the track you made.
I will link that video.
Dude, it's so catchy, man. Like.
Oh, you know what? I just sorry. This is not related to the show. I mean, it is, but not directly. I was trying to think of what cover art we should use for the episode on Spotify.
Yeah.
I think I'll use the same.
What's the point of making music?
Use this. I would just say my existential crisis. That's a perfect episode name.
Well, and I love how like all the things that we do sort of behind the scenes, we are literally doing it on the episode. Is that how?
Yeah.
Is that how much of a writer's block we have?
I swear.
It's almost like, when we are getting new idea, we are not even thinking about the time and place. We are just like, okay, let's just take it.
Yeah. But thank you, Robin. That was a fantastic idea, as always, coming to my rescue.
Dude,
so, I think we have time for like one more method. For like, so I mean, as I was saying, right, as someone who's kind of associated themselves with music for, like, I've done it for my entire life, right? It's such a huge part of my identity, or has been. It's kind of hard to let go. So I'll be honest with you, Robin. I promised you that I wouldn't touch music at all.
I almost feel like how these Alcoholics Anonymous has like a sponsor.
Yeah.
So like it's all, he has officially made me a sponsor. He's like, Robin, if you see me going back to my addiction, I need you to tell me that you will not be happy with this. I need you to call me and tell me.
It's pretty much like that. I told you that to keep an eye on me, make sure I don't go back into like I've been going like in circles the last couple of months, kind of having phases where I'm really interested in music and I'm like really motivated, excited, and I start a bunch of projects, only for those projects to fall flat the next week, or the week after that. And then I repeat the cycle again. I watch a video or I listen to a new song and I get motivated. And then that motivation lasts maybe a couple of days. And then, I'm back to square one. So to avoid getting back into that, that cycle, I asked Robin to make sure, I'm not doing the same stuff again and again. So I have made him a promise that I wouldn't touch a DAW, a digital audio workstation.
Which is FL Studio, Logic Pro, and all these.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I have broken that, I think, at least 3 times now.
Oh,
3 times.
But just for editing the podcast, no. I mean, that
No. So you don't know, but so it started with GarageBand. GarageBand I downloaded for the podcast.
Oh my god.
Then I watched a video where I even though I don't make stuff, I watch a lot of music production related content.
Okay.
So I got inspired as usual. And I decided, let's not work on Logic Pro. Let me download some free software and get into it. So I ended up and just to kind of, because I was thinking about my promise to Robin in the back of my head, I made a promise to myself, which was I'm going to make a list of all the plugins I need and only use those. So I downloaded some free synths, I got some effects plugins, auto-tune, something. I even found this free VST alternative to Vocaloid, the software that can actually create vocals for you when you input notes and some words.
Proceed with caution with those plugins also. You have only told me how even that is a rabbit hole in itself, which can sort of put you down I don't know.
It is.
Download this, download that, I need this, I need that.
That's a whole other conversation which we'll get into. But yeah, anyway, so I downloaded all of that stuff. I loaded into the program. I started writing something. It was going quite good actually. And then the expected thing happened. I lost interest. I completely fell back to square one. This was, I think, last week or last week. Then last week again, I had a spurt of motivation. And I was like, let me just work on Logic Pro. So I downloaded Logic Pro also because GarageBand is kind of basic and I find it easier to edit with Logic for the podcast also. So, and I needed it for episode 7. So I downloaded that and I think it was a couple of days ago, I just tried making a beat and it was going well. And then the usual thing happened. So I've broken it, I think, twice or maybe thrice now. I'm sorry, Robin. I know I promised that I wouldn't go back to my old ways, but I have. But yeah, I think, and the reason I bring this up is I think, for me especially, I think the solution I've come to is to simply step away from production entirely. And the more I lapse back into, my old habits, the more I realize the need for it. And it's good actually. I think exposing myself to different kinds of, hobbies, activities really helps, bring perspective. I've been trying graphic design a little bit here and there. Video editing for the podcast is surprisingly helpful because I get to make this cool real videos. The teasers, I kind of make videos for those, so that's kind of fun. I have been gaming. I have been reading comics, and yeah, I've been watching a lot of K-dramas also. So yeah, I think doing all these things has really kept me occupied.
All the best,
and
too.
Maybe
all the best.
Yeah, maybe sometime in the future I'll feel a little better about music and about doing music related things.
Yeah, apparently that's even though that's kind of like a vague condition, but that's the only condition in which you're allowed to break this promise that you have to yourself, which is if you truly get inspired and not that one day inspiration which sort of fades away very quickly and you end up feeling worse than when you started, but more when you truly find that purpose, so to speak. When you truly get the point, when you truly are able to answer my question, what's the point, dude? Why am I promoting this track so much?
You know what? I think at the end, whenever I edit this episode, I think at the end I'm just gonna end the podcast with that song.
Yeah, please, man. Because this kind of got a little existential and sad. Maybe this.
You know what? Let's do that. Let's end the episode right now. And Robin, you can start us off by singing the beginning of the song. And I'll just cut.
Sure. What's the point, dude? What's the
What's the point? What's the point, dude? Hello. What's the point, dude? What's the I see it. What's the point? What's the point? Hello. What's the point?
Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in to episode 8. This is again another idea we've tried, a bit of an unconventional episode. We hope you relate in some sense. We'll put up a question and do let us know if you faced something similar to that, something similar to what me and Robin have gone through, and or maybe a different kind of writer's block. And we hope that the
and also how do y'all sort of
how do you
get out of your writer's block?
How do you try to how do you work around your frustrations, and how do you end up creating art even though you are in a slump? Do let us know. Thanks so much for tuning
regardless of your art form, okay, like not just music, but like regardless of whatever art form.
Yeah, just let us know. We'd love genuinely. I'm asking. I'm desperate.
we both can use some advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next episode.